Can I ask you something, Miss Evelyn? Do you know what her pain is? Because the only reason a person would behave in this manner,
we're not going to throw this behavior word around again. We're not going to do that. She does not have a behavior problem, and that's not fair.
First of all, your finger in my face is not going to work for me.
But the name calling is not going to work for me. Because I don't appreciate you keep throwing out these names. That is what about my disrespect? All I have been is disrespectful. I've been called.
What if Tamar Braxton isn't the real issue after all? What if the person stirring the pot in the Braxton family has been Miss E the entire time? The drama surrounding the Braxtons is getting messier by the day, and once again, Tamar finds herself in the center of it. Whenever her name pops up on social media, critics instantly label her as dramatic, attention-seeking, or incapable of letting go of grudges. But Tamar is pushing back, making it clear she won't carry the blame alone. She's openly said that many of her behaviors stem from her upbringing, specifically the influence of her mother. Over the past few months, Tamar has been speaking more about her mental health, her healing process, and the deep emotional wounds connected to Miss E's long-standing resentment toward people, especially their father. According to Tamar, that unresolved tension has played a major role in the struggles she still faces today. Let's be honest, Tamar Braxton has shown the world every version of herself. From chaotic relationship problems with Vince and JR, to public feuds with her sisters, to burning through friendships and falling outs like it's a hobby, she has never been short on drama. This year, she pushed it even further by dragging Funky Geneva into the mess, hinting that he may have involved in something dangerous after a night out or, even worse, accusing him of sleeping with some of Tony's men. The back and forth was wild, messy, and classic Tamar, loud, emotional, and explosive. Back in the early seasons of Braxton Family Values, that behavior made her the undeniable fan favorite. But year after year, Tamar does something that leaves everyone speechless, and people are starting to feel drained by what they call her never-ending chaos. Despite constantly talking about being on a healing journey, many fans think Tamar has only gotten more volatile with time. Comments online are brutal. People say she's exhausting, that she needs real help, and that she should be loved from a distance. Some even claim that Tamar never takes accountability, always plays the victim, and refuses to see how hurtful or petty she can be.
Mother, run your life.
How dare he try to tell me how to raise my kids after he have abandoned us? He has some nerve.
Y'all have lives to live yourself, and she can't run her life, her home, and your home too.
And you know what? Had you been home long enough to help me to raise them, it wouldn't be such a problem. But where were you? I'm there hanging in the street, doing whatever you were.
At almost 50, still falling out with everyone around her, folks believe the pattern speaks for itself. Tamar being dramatic isn't shocking anymore, but fans warn her that if she doesn't slow down, she's going to lose whatever positive image the public still has of her. But in true Tamar fashion, she's not letting the criticism slide. Instead, she's pointing the finger right back, specifically at her mother, Miss Evelyn. According to Tamar, the sisters have been carrying deep bitterness for years, and she's the only one bold enough to talk about it publicly. For the first time, she's openly connecting her behavior to her upbringing, saying she grew up watching Ms. E hold grudges, lash out, and refuse to let go of anger, especially when it came to the divorce from Michael Braxton. Tamar claims her mother's unresolved resentment shaped how all the Braxton sisters learned to deal with conflict, disappointment, and each other. Tamar has even said that the emotional environment they were raised in wasn't just tense, it was damaging. Miss Evelyn, in her pain, allegedly raised the girls to pick a side during the divorce, and those who still associated with their father, like Tracy, felt the consequences. Tamar says Evelyn has always been quick with cutting words, controlling behavior, and a belief that she's always right. And because she constantly reminded the girls that she raised 6 children alone, they carried guilt anytime they tried to push back or form their own opinions. Tamar, being the youngest, developed the deepest attachment, reportedly running everything by her mother and absorbing her worldviews as absolute truth. And according to Tamar, even after 2 decades, nothing has changed. Miss Evelyn's lingering bitterness still spills into her daughter's relationships, fueling tension that has lasted well into their 40s and 50s. Tamar says the sisters didn't just watch their mother stay angry, they inherited it. That's why their once close sisterhood has fractured. Tamar has admitted that the bond they once had as kids no longer exists, and that staying around each other now only creates more negative memories instead of healing the old ones. Even Tony, the eldest and often considered the most graceful of the sisters, isn't as removed from the dysfunction as she appears. The drama runs deep, and Tamar believes it all traces back to Miss Evelyn's unresolved hurt. When Evelyn and Michael were divorcing, she reportedly forced the children to take sides, and anyone who showed loyalty to their father was met with her anger. This is why her relationship with Tracy suffered for years, and why many believe Evelyn held that resentment until Tracy's final days. Tamar also claims that Evelyn's need to control didn't stop at emotions. It included opinions too. If Tamar disagreed with her, Miss E would shut her down instantly. As long as you agreed with Evelyn, she loved you. The moment you didn't, she was furious. Tamar says that pattern is exactly what keeps her sisters trapped in this unspoken cycle of guilt, people-pleasing, and emotional manipulation. When comparing families, Tamar points out the stark difference between the Braxtons and the Knowles family. Beyoncé and Solange watched their parents go through a painful divorce, but Tina Knowles handled it with grace, forgiveness, and emotional maturity. She never passed down bitterness. Meanwhile, Tamar says the Braxton sisters grew up surrounded by pain that was never healed, and it shows. They're still arguing publicly in their 40s and 50s, still resentful, and still unable to form a solid sisterhood. And for many people watching, Tamar's revelations only confirm what they already suspected. Miss Evelyn's unresolved trauma may have shaped the entire family's dysfunction. Some viewers now say Evelyn Braxton deserves a spot on the list of hidden villains, mothers who raise their daughters while silently battling their own wounds, passing down emotional baggage without realizing the damage. The Braxton family has always been known for drama, but Tamar claims her mother is the root of it all, and she has carried the weight and the blame for far too long. From the outside, the Braxtons looked like one of television's most entertaining, talented, and emotionally expressive families. For years, audiences tuned into Braxton Family Values, thinking they were witnessing a group of sisters simply navigating fame, misunderstandings, and messy sibling rivalries. But behind the cameras, beneath the glamorous veneer and the loud, hilarious outbursts, something much heavier was simmering. Tamar Braxton, the youngest, the boldest, the loudest, and the one who always seemed to steal the spotlight, was carrying a weight she never fully explained. And now, the truth she's finally sharing paints a picture far more complex than fans ever imagined. For decades, Tamar has been dismissed as dramatic, explosive, childish, or impossible to deal with. Anytime a headline involving Tamar popped up, the internet collectively sighed. Oh, Tamar being Tamar again. Whether it was a feud with a friend, a nasty breakup, a fight with her sisters, or a runaway rumor about her attitude, the public rarely extended grace. Tamar was always labeled the problem, the troublemaker, the ungrateful one, the one who simply couldn't behave. But Tamar herself says the real story is far darker, and that the behaviors the world loves to mock didn't come from nowhere. According to her, the storm inside her heart began forming long before she was on reality TV, and long before she had words to explain her own pain. Tamar is now opening up and revealing that the person who unknowingly shaped some of her deepest insecurities and emotional wounds was none other than her mother, Miss Evelyn Braxton. Tamar Braxton didn't grow up in a quiet home. The Braxton household was filled with music, strict church expectations, and plenty of personality. But there was also heartbreak. Evelyn Braxton, known to the world as Miss E, was a proud, strong, deeply spiritual woman raising 6 children after discovering her husband, Michael Braxton Sr., was unfaithful. That betrayal cut deep, and the emotional fallout didn't end with a divorce. Tamar says those wounds spread to everyone around Evelyn, especially her daughters. According to Tamar, She grew up watching her mother operate from a place of hurt, bitterness, and unhealed trauma. Miss E wasn't just dealing with a broken marriage, she was carrying devastation she never fully processed. And because she was the parent, the authority figure, the matriarch, the person everyone was supposed to obey, the kids learned to adapt to her emotions instead of confronting their own. Tamar says she learned to respond to conflict exactly the way she watched her mother do it, explosively, defensively, with sharp words and an even sharper tone. Tamar learned young that expressing pain loudly was normal. Shutting down opposing views was normal. Holding grudges was normal. Fighting to be seen and heard, even if it hurt others, was normal. Tamar didn't just witness her mother struggle. She absorbed it. When Evelyn discovered that her husband had been unfaithful, she divorced him. And understandably, she was furious. But according to Tamar, that anger didn't stay between Evelyn and Michael. Instead, the children were subtly forced to take sides. Evelyn reportedly made it clear which daughter was loyal and which ones were betraying her by maintaining a relationship with their father. This created division between the girls that lingered for decades. Tamar says she didn't even realize how deep the emotional manipulation ran until she was grown. Tracy Braxton, who lived closest to their father in Maryland, suffered the most from Evelyn's resentment. Even as an adult, Tracy felt punished for wanting to maintain a bond with the man who raised her. According to family insiders, Evelyn clung to this bitterness up until Tracy's passing. Tamar, on the other hand, sided with her mother wholeheartedly, but at a cost. She bonded with Evelyn through shared anger, loyalty, and codependency. Tamar says she believed everything her mother said, even when it wasn't healthy. She adopted her mother's worldview, thinking Evelyn was always right, always justified, always the victim. Tamar internalized her mother's hurt, and because she was the baby of the family, she sought her mother's approval more than anyone else. Tamar says being the chosen daughter, the daughter who understood her mother's pain, didn't come without a price. She grew up believing she could never disagree with Evelyn without consequences. Evelyn's voice was law. Evelyn's emotions ruled the room. And if Tamar dared challenge her, she was shut down instantly. Tamar learned that love was conditional. Acceptance depended on obedience. Speaking her truth meant risking emotional punishment. And because she was young, she confused that fear with love. As an adult, Tamar carried these patterns into every relationship, romantic, professional, and especially with her sisters. She became defensive when she felt misunderstood, explosive when she felt vulnerable, outspoken when she felt silenced. These habits weren't quirks. They were survival mechanisms. To the world, Tamar Braxton's outbursts looked like immaturity. When she fell out with friends, feuded with celebrities, or clapped back online, people saw her as the problem child, the one who never grew up, the one who didn't understand boundaries or accountability. From being mocked for her voice as a teenager to being treated like the family's extra personality to being misunderstood at almost every stage of her life, Tamar admits she built her personality as armor. The loudness, the shade, the dramatic facial expressions, the quick clapbacks, those were shields. She was loud because she felt unheard. She was animated because she felt invisible. She was defensive because she was scared. Comparisons between the Knowles sisters and the Braxton sisters began circulating long before Tamar ever spoke out. Beyoncé and Solange watched their parents go through infidelity and a divorce, yet Tina Knowles never poisoned the household with bitterness. She raised her daughters to handle conflict with grace, poise, and emotional distance instead of emotional chaos. Tina didn't pit her children against their father. She modeled forgiveness, even when it was painful. Evelyn Braxton wasn't evil. She was wounded, but her wounds shaped her daughter's wounds. And Tamar believes that explains why the Braxton sisters, now in their 40s and 50s, still struggle with unity, boundaries, and healthy communication. The Braxton sisters were raised to stick together at all costs. But Tamar says this was a false sense of unity, sustained through guilt and obligation. Their mother reportedly pushed the idea that the girls had to stay close, even when the relationships were damaging. That's why arguments weren't resolved, they were buried. and resentments built on top of resentments. As adults, the sisters drifted apart. They stopped truly communicating. They lost the bond they had as kids. The closeness fans saw on TV was the edited, polished version. Behind the scenes, Tamar says the family was fractured. Tamar says she became the family scapegoat because she was the one who expressed everything the others suppressed. When she voiced her feelings, she became dramatic. When she confronted issues, she became the problem. When she pushed back, she became ungrateful. When she cried out for help, people accused her of seeking attention. But the truth, according to Tamar, is that she carried the emotional weight the others refused to acknowledge. Fans online are now debating whether Evelyn